Okay, lovelies, welcome one and all to Unicorn Light Tarot. If this is your first time here, welcome, welcome. If you just clicked on here, be it the day, evening, whenever. And if you are returning, welcome also. Just a couple of quick reminders. So thank you for everybody who has reached out for a private reading. I am conducting them at the weekend now. And obviously, when I'm recording this, I am also doing readings at the weekend. I believe I have one more spot open for next week. So if anybody is interested in a personal reading, the details are down below. You can email me and we can move forward on that. Like I said, they're done at the weekends, so I have time to write during the week. So I can only take a couple of people a week, 3 to 4. So I think I have one slot left for next week. And also don't forget, we have the Unicorn School of Light for some gorgeous courses for you. If you're looking for some course description and give you an energy of the courses, do check out the website down below where you can get the course descriptions and also the introduction to my book, Healing a Witchcraft in a Conformist World. If you have not gotten that yet, I think it used to be free on Kindle. I'm not quite sure, but it's worth checking out. And that all of those interesting details, beautiful details are on my website. And of course, you can head straight to the Unicorn School of Light to go ahead and book your course. All right, let's head right into our beautiful session today, our healing session. As always, we have our healing candle made with healing oil that was made under the full moon. It was an eclipse, so you can either release what no longer serves you or bring in that abundance and healing energy for manifestation. These sessions are also set up for not only healing but activation, pretty much whatever it is that you need, as well as knowledge, wisdom, and of course support. So today we are getting in touch with the source and getting you information about what does the rest of 2020 have in store for you. We are coming to the end of 2020, and unless you live completely off the grid, in which case you're probably not watching this, but I am slightly jealous. 2020 has been quite a trying year for many different reasons. It's also been an amazing year. It's been full of activations, ups and downs. We're coming into November and December, so there is some slightly different energy coming in for the rest of 2020. So I thought we would check in on those energies and get kind of a message about the what to expect for the last 2 months, and some messages about the overall energy of what you've been through and how you've led up to the coming into the last 2 months for the last 10 months of 2020. So we have 3 piles as usual, and I channeled some just really small little messages from the universe. So this is message number 1 with the kitty. No, not kitty. Well, it's kind of a kitty bunny kitty sticker here for pile 1. And then your message from the universe says cool on pile 2. And then on pile 3, I actually liked it this way. Your arrow facing up or, down, sideways, any way you want. But that's your message from the universe here. For pile 3. So as always, take as much time as you possibly need. If you need to go ahead and pause the video and take a couple of deep breaths, the more in alignment you are with yourself and your intuition, the more you are in alignment with these beautiful messages that are coming up, and the more that you will resonate with them. So take as much time as you absolutely need. The timestamps are always down below, so you never need to worry about that. And we are going to move these out of the way just for now. And so for pile 1, don't forget we have the healing and activation candle there. This is your pile 1. As a reminder, what does the rest of 2020 have in store for you? So if you chose the bunny kitty ears to start off with, your beautiful message from the universe is trusting your inner navigation network. I'm sorry. Can't even read my own handwriting. That's a great start, isn't it? Trusting your inner navigation network, your intuition, and your inner child equals road for success, heart. So trusting your inner navigation network, which is your intuition, combined with the loving energy of your inner child, equals a road for success. So that is your message to start off with here, pile one. So let's get right into, we have these, I also have some tarot cards here. So we're starting off with strength, the goddess tarot, and temptation, which is the devil reversed. And then we have heart chakra. The frequency of the heart chakra, the green flower of life, supports our capacity to love deeply and unconditionally. Its healing properties harmonize the mind and the body. Wonderful. So there's a few things that are coming up here, and to pave the way, we will talk a little bit about what you've been through in 2020 and what to expect for the final part of this 2020 movie, because it does seem sort of cinematic like. So you've definitely been working with the energy of where you begin and somebody else ends, boundaries on a new level. Now you've had to work on boundaries throughout your life, particularly for the last couple of years, in a really basic way, like, I can't do this anymore, you can't speak to me like this. All of those things were valid and wonderful. We do want to concentrate on the next 2 months versus what you've been through. You already know what you've been through, but these are boundaries on a more cosmic level, on a more interglobal level, where the energy of something, you're incredibly empathic. The understanding of like energy coming in, that's not my energy, I don't need to take it in, and really understanding how that works within your network, within your system. And not only that, but taking it one step further insofar as like when that energy comes into yourself and you sometimes wrongfully think it's coming from you, or you do know it's coming from the external and yet it's already integrated, you don't know how to release it. What that does to your system, what that does to your psyche. Because we can tell you, pile one, there is definitely a way in which when that external energy comes in, and we're talking about negative energy, when the external of negativity comes in and it really isn't your energy, but you've taken it in, there is a very specific thing that happens to you. It comes in, first of all, it focuses on fear. And you sort of feel it in your chakras, definitely root chakra. And it almost like it's sort of a tingly sensation. Sometimes it goes all the way up your spinal system, your back, all the way up to the back of your brain here and across the way from your third eye. And then as it seeps in a little bit more, or it gets a little bit more comfortable as it's in there, it'll attach to different energies that you've had within your life, like actual fears that you've had yourself. And then it tells you that those fears are valid, or the external energy is just helping you bring up the old fears. It's connected to the old fears. And actually they're not connected at all, but they're triggering the old fears, but there's no need for that to be triggering. Now, if it's not released, it goes one step further, and then you start coming into this doubt, and you start falling out of sort of self-love and self-appreciation, and you start looking at the negative in every part of your life. So even if something was going really well for you and you were figuring it out the day before and you're like, okay, this is going the right direction. It's got some beautiful energy, not quite where I want it to be yet, but it's wonderful. I'm liking the energy. I'm liking the expansiveness of it. I'm really excited to see where it goes. This energy comes in, it'll trigger. And then then you'll start looking at the negative. Oh, well, it didn't go any further today. Maybe it's not going anywhere. And then the doubt starts coming in, and you start looking over every aspect of your life with this sort of slightly fearful, but really what it is, it's this very critical eye with a more of a negative component, with more of a lack component, instead of looking at that and going, okay, well, it didn't move today. Yesterday had wonderful energy. Maybe it needs a couple of days, but I'm going to keep with the energy that I had yesterday. I know this is going to take off. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to take off if I don't scrutinize it every day and keep looking over it and trying to control the situation. Let's give it some space. So there's very specific ways in which this energy comes in, the external. Now, what you have been learning on a new level with boundaries that you've been doing physically with people in and around you, which you've had to do, and it's been quite painful for you to do at times, because truly people that you've cut the cords with, or people that you truly loved, but they just weren't treating you that well. Or the worst part of it is that they were wonderful people, and then it's not like they were bad people or they were terrible to you, but they weren't reflecting where you are, and you wanted more from the relationship than they were able to give. It's very difficult to cut boundaries or have boundaries with people, with relationships that are not quite there yet, versus relationships that are obviously not there and they have to be cut. But relationships that aren't sort of cutting the beef, as we say at home, but at the same time that it's time to go separate ways. That's been difficult for you, but you've gathered the strength from that, and you've done that, and you don't have to cut them terribly out of your life, but you put those boundaries down. Sometimes all you have to do is put those boundaries down in your mind, in the format of your life. You don't have to physically do it to the person, just I'm done with you. Energy is very palpable, whether people realize they're picking up on it or not, which is what we're talking about exactly here, or not. They do pick up on it. They will just fall away, but that's because you've cut the cord. Now, they might be still, partying or doing things that you did before, and you've decided not to include that in your life right now, or you're really watching that stuff, and they're still very much in that mode. However it is that you decided that it wasn't good for you to have certain people in your life, you've gathered strength from that, and you put your foot down. Maybe not physically to them, but they fell away anyway, or maybe they fell away first, and then you were like, you know what, I've got to cut this off and say it's done. So you've done that on the level. Now what you're doing, that you're being asked to do, and this is huge for you because it's a life changer, right? You're definitely being asked to do this on an interglobal level, letting in the energy of the external. So you'll be at the point for the next 2 months, November and December, coming in here, 2020, of just being your own sort of solar panel, picking up the energy of positivity of the sun, and no other energy that's external to you can get in the way of that. You have a lot of ups and downs, in your life, but particularly with emotionality, and the ups and downs can affect the emotionality for days. You can keep up on the good mentality, the good emotionality, but if it goes down the next day, again, you go into this loop of self-doubt, and coming out of that can be a couple of days. So really understanding where the world begins and you end, understanding that when that negativity or that the energy comes in from the external world, and it's not what you are looking to cultivate, it's not the energy that you want, really having those boundaries and being able to decipher, to really differentiate, this is not my energy. I can see that you come, and even if you did let it in, that's fine. I can see it for what it is. I can recognize it, and now I'm going to release it. I don't need to take it in. It doesn't need to trigger me like it did before, because it's, energy begets energy. So as the negativity comes in, it's going to find some kind of negativity that you've stored, or some kind of trigger that you still have. And it will go at it, but it will convince you that that trigger is still active. It's not really active anymore. It's just a matter of this energy coming in and being able to deal with it. So that's something that you'll be able to do. And as you do this, you'll feel a lot more strength in your life. You'll feel a lot more grounded, more contained. Your energy will be more contained into your body. Sometimes it's very difficult for you to ground because your energy is sort of hovering over your body, and it's almost like you're not really encompassing your body that much in a physical matter. And that's because you're so empathic. You're taking in so much energy. And this has been a long-term, long life thing of figuring out energy before. So you're used to it in many ways, and you've worked on it in many ways, as I've said, as we've said in many readings recently, don't go down the rabbit hole, the trap of, you need to heal this, you need to go back and go over all of this. Again, when this negativity comes in and triggers in a very specific way, it can trigger you, but it's triggering you from the external and using the energy of the external. So it feels personal to you, but it really isn't. So, if that energy wasn't coming in from the external, you wouldn't be able to be triggered in that way. But even if that energy enters, you'll be able to see what it is, the pattern. It's very obvious and it's kind of boring what it does. There's nothing new in the way it works. It's got a very specific agenda, goes for the triggering, and then the self-doubt comes in, and da 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 da. So you'll be able to identify this. So even if the energy does leak in, or you are triggered by something from the external, and then you allow in, unbeknownst to you, you allow in the external negative energy, you'll be able to see it and be able to release it and recognize it for what it is. Now, this is huge because what it does, it allows you to be in a constant state of alignment instead of control. Before you did understand the difference on paper between control and alignment, and you would start off aligning, and then maybe it wasn't going quick enough, or the practical mindset, and you'd go back into the tropes of controlling, and then you wouldn't, it would lead to these ups and downs of not getting the results that you want. And it would chip away a little bit at your strength. And at worst, you get to the point where, what am I doing? I feel lost. You're not actually lost. You really know who you are and what you're supposed to do. Now, the specifics of what you're supposed to do, how it will manifest, and the different ways it will manifest. You don't have to really tighten up on that right now, because there's gifts that are coming to you that are really opening up in the next couple of months that will lead you in slightly different directions that you wouldn't have thought before, and that's fine. But it's all coming from a central spot that you already know. So you know enough to know your path. So the doubt is coming from the external. And once you gather that strength and you live in alignment and you're not in the control mechanisms anymore, you can't be triggered from the external. You'll be able to see people for exactly what they are. And even if you don't agree with them, which is perfectly fine, you can still hold space and empathy for them and walk away instead of getting constantly triggered or brought back into an essence of the drama or the negative or the polarity that's been going on in 2020. The polarity that's been reflected onto your life or mirrored onto your life is something that you've been transcending again on the personal, interpersonal, global relationships, all aspects of your life. This idea of right or wrong, good and bad. These polarities have been coming up so thick and fast in 2020, and the right and the wrong are exactly the same. They have the same vehement, absolutely detest of each other, do not understand. And we've been seeing this polarity, particularly in the US, and it's been played out sort of as a drama role in 2020, and it's been played out in different aspects of your life. So you've been able to break it down and see how that works for you, and again allow in that energy and see what it does for you. It's almost like a scientist, you've got these experiments and you're observing what it does, and and allowing yourself to go down that rabbit hole just a little bit. This is the beginning of 2020, to see how it really affects you. Now you'll be able to put all that energy together and figure out that polarity for yourself, how it works on the interpersonal in your level of life, and how it affects all aspects of your life, and be able to transcend that. And again, allows you to come right back into your body, ground into who you are, and do a lot of the final healing of the first and second chakras. Again, nothing more for you to go through to figure out, but there's a little bit more of a releasing, like a little bit more of the putting the jigsaw pieces together, going, I get it, connect the dots. Once the dots are connected, the releasing of the old just happens automatically, and then you'll get that aha moment. And we want to remind you too that you've been through some ups and downs, like we said, with that emotionality going backwards and forwards, and some of you might even be having or have had whiplash. But we want to remind you that even though you felt like at certain times, especially in the 3 to 6 month mark, you've been sort of all over the place, you've not been lost. And every activation that you've had has activated and has stuck, insofar as you've never gone backwards after that activation. So you're not going backwards. You hit this high point where you realize, you've had this activation, and then something else might come up for you for the next month. And then you wonder if you've sort of 6 steps forwards, 4 steps backwards. Everything that you've activated, that energy that you've activated, and you never go backwards, you can't unlearn it. You don't have to worry about that. So you're never going backwards. But there's this balance, this plateau, this balance that you're going to be working with the final 2 months, where you're going to be able to like really look through 2020 with this real discerning eye and be able to see, oh, that was up and down, this was, but be able to see the plateau throughout all of this, and throughout the year, and be able to see the real consistency of character since the beginning. We would say February, March probably February for you, happened a little earlier, late January, February, till like November, December. And then when you look back from like January of next year to go back, this real consistency of moving forward, and have this sort of objectivity that you don't, or you didn't currently have at the beginning of the year. But that's going to become very much in focus in the last couple of months. So don't underestimate the last couple of months. This real coming into this heart chakra center. You've been missing the love for yourself, and coming back into really working on that. The word self-loathing comes up for some of you. If you are resonating, you might be at different points to this reading, because it is a general reading. But really shifting that self-loathing, but being more specific to what we've already said. A lot of that self-loathing, or the understanding of not loving yourself in the way that you could have, really comes from actually not from you. You actually think you're amazing, but allowing in, or having that external energy come in and working within your system in such a way that it makes you truly believe that it's part of you. It's a little bit sneaky, but you've been watching that. And like we've said before, now that we've seen you come in to this understanding of self and how things work, almost like a network or a circuit, you can stop the electricity on that circuit anytime you want. It builds back the strength. And then you see that you actually have a lot of respect for yourself. When you've doubted yourself, or you've not had respect for yourself, it's because you constantly seen yourself from other people's points of view. A lot of people have projected upon you and dumbed you down in their estimations. You were the sort of person, because you know what it is, you're original and you have the underdog quality to you, right? So people sometimes equate that with weakness, and it's not like that at all. And you might have been a little bit quirky, maybe a little bit on the outskirts of society one way or another. That's a very specific way of putting it, and a little bit more dramatic than you actually are. But because of that, people just lumped you into this one way that they could project upon you, somehow make themselves feel a little bit better, and treat you in a certain way. And you've been seeing yourself from that point of view. Now, you've been watching this, and you've been realizing that you let in a lot of this energy. But a lot of the energy that made you feel bad was external and triggered something within you and told you again that it was really you, and it really wasn't. So when you figure out these boundaries and you really get firm with these boundaries, it's really easy for you to release the external. When you release the external, you're left with what's left, and that's the divinity within. And these people who treated you like this made a really big mistake, because you also work for the underdog. You're always, even in movies, you're ready for the underdog. The underdog is extremely powerful because they've cultivated their abilities outside of the system. Makes them far more powerful. And they always have a better ending, and it's a much more satisfying ending. So, people have downplayed who you are because you've not done things the way that other people have. But actually, that's just, the assumptions. It's making a fool out of them and not you. So this is a way for you to really engage in the strength, really believe in who you are, and say, yeah, fuck it. I didn't do it the way everybody else did it. I'm doing it my own way, and really stand in that strength and that beauty and that life. And everything that you do, from creativity to everything else that you do, is unique. You have a unique voice. It's completely beautiful, and it will be needed. People will come to you and work with you because of the way that you work within this world. Absolutely. Clear your energy. I think we just said that. That's exactly what you're doing, but in a circuit way, the way that electricity works. It has to have a circuit. If you take out this part of it, it can't go round. And you can work with it completely differently. I love, it's a pretty famous meme at this point. It's a book of matches, and the matches are all on fire. They're all lit, right? And then there's this match that's further down that can't catch fire, and then there's a book of matches that can't catch fire. It's completely unlit. And it's like when you remove yourself from it, that's what you're doing. But clearing the energy, everybody says, oh, clear your energy, meditate, clear your energy. That's fine. But for some people, that's woo-woo. How do I clear my energy? I cleared my energy, I meditated for 5 minutes, and 10 minutes later, somebody's pushed my buttons and I want to smash a window. It's really about finding out how that energy, the external, works within you. That's the true power. That's what you're getting. The circuitry. You're getting to dismantle the circuitry to figure out how it does. That's true, proper power. That's what you're getting. And once you dismantle it, what you're left with is absolute gorgeousness, which is you. And it's a new form of confidence for you coming in, Pawan. It's truly wonderful and well deserved. You really, really, totally and completely deserve this. Because of the way people have projected upon you, it has been quite difficult because you're so open, to really decipher or really see yourself in a really true form without other people's interpretations of you. So this is going to be a clarity of vision. This is you coming back to you and you alone. And we can tell you the version of you that's actually real compared to the version of you that people have treated you by is completely different. It's not even on the same bar. It's not even, they were so far wrong. They weren't even like kind of in the ballpark, but as a friend of mine would say, close but no cigar. Not even close. It was literally a projection of how they saw themselves or how they saw the world. You were an icon. You had nothing to play in that. It wasn't even remotely personal, which is tough to say because these were people that were in your life and it wasn't even personal. So on every level, it was kind of painful and hurtful. But these people are gone. You don't need them anymore. So we have the 5 of air here. We have the 5 of swords with our unicorn. An unwise choice. Learn from the situation, review everyone's motives. That we just said that this is exactly what you've been doing, and that's, we didn't really want to go there, but now that it's come up, other people, when they treated you a certain way, may have had their own motives. Now, it wasn't to directly hurt you per se, but it was ego driven, maybe to make themselves look better or to pump up their own ego, whatever it was. There was some kind of device used there in the way in which they treated you. It wasn't free from the ego in any way, shape, or form. And unwise choices. You've gone into these situations. You've allowed these people into your life for the experience. You've already done that. Absolutely your red flag, which was always brilliant, by the way. You may have ignored it, but your intuition is absolutely gorgeous. We always remind you the red flag is a gift between you and your guides. I promise you, there is no way the person that's giving you the red flag knows it's a red flag. They think all is well. The red flag is a personal connection between you and your guides. So you've always had red flags, and yet you've given people space in order to change. Now they haven't, and that's fine. Now we don't want to. We're going over a little bit of 2020 to give you some perspective, but we don't want to hark on this. So whatever experience that you've already had them. This is about accumulating all the experiences and working out the circuitry so you can move on from them. So there's no choice to be made really in this. You've already made the choice. Your soul has already made the choice to embrace fully who you are and to be able to see life and to be able to exchange with life and to be able to cultivate the kind of success and beauty that you want and to be in the world the way that you want. And to be able to do that is to really connect with your own energy, with source, without the external division that's been happening. With firming up those boundaries and seeing yourself exactly as you are. So Let's see what we have here. We've got the fire and the passion. Absolutely. That is totally you. Sometimes you have used that a little against yourself with the desire and the power. And the passion would say, you've mistaken passion with power. You've also burnt yourself out where you're just constantly going at something. I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make this work. And then you burnt yourself out going, I didn't really even want to do that. So working with the inner masculine, the inner feminine to be able to achieve what it is that you want and have that extra balance. That's something that you've been working on. Yeah, absolutely. That's the other thing too, to be volatile. Holding your emotions in, your emotionality in. It's very difficult to be. You really have been the sort of empath that when you walk into a room, people do project upon you. You're also very triggering for people because you're that mirror for people. So when people treat you like that, you know deep down that it's really not personal, but at the same time it's very painful. So you kept that emotionality inside, and sometimes that's, the fire and the passion has mixed with that and you've blown up, or, some of you could have had skin problems or eczema or even acne or whatever it is, because you've had this anger, this rage that has come out at certain times of being treated in that way. And that's totally fine that you would not know how to integrate that completely. But that's another beauty that's coming in for you. Reaching outside of that volatile state and really working with your emotionality. And really respecting your emotionality for what it is, integrating it fully, and being able to, tap into that passion and that power without blowing up, without, having it taking you down this road of working, only to find out that you've not been intuitive. It's not what you've wanted. Your practical mind said, if we do this, we'll do that, we'll take off. And that's not what you've wanted at all. So, really cultivating what is you and letting go of what wasn't you all along. And this is very, very powerful stuff. So when this is actually the day after the full moon in Taurus, it will be a couple of days, but we'll still be influenced or working through what's come up for this powerful full moon by the time this reading is available and uploaded for you. But let's go ahead and check in again. Surrender. These are already things that you are ready to surrender. Some of that energy you were keeping hold of. I want to do one more. Purity. Again, getting back to that balance of self. Purity gets blown out of proportion, this idea of what purity is, right? But for you, purity is that coming back to that sense of self where you're not influenced by your past or the external anymore. Pretty much exactly what we've been saying. Now, the surrendering process has had to be a little bit slower for you because you've had so much karma, you've had so much denseness. There's a lot that's been going on for you. You couldn't just go off into the woods and just release one night and everything would be fine. I've known people who have done that and it's been absolutely incredible. This has been incremental for you and it had to be this way for you, but you're ready to get to the point where you're ready to surrender the rest of it. And that is a gorgeous time to be. So, the incremental part can be a little annoying sometimes. And again, it can be a little confusing because you don't know if you're really reaching that destination. And, as we said, we'll reiterate, you have been, absolutely, rest assured. But, there's a real satisfaction with the general surrendering of, and then seeing everything fall into place. And this gorgeousness is coming in for the rest of the 2 months. So the gift you're getting is yourself and the strength that goes along with that too. Other people have taken that strength and that energy and used it for themselves too. And that's another thing that you've done, that people have wanted a reaction from you and you've not given them, you've not given them the satisfaction of giving them a reaction, but it does seep out in other ways. That's the volatile, or you keep it in and it comes out in this other kind of way. So that's another thing that you'll be surrendering. You'll be pulling back and giving back all of that energy that people expected from you. It's like, all right, you wanted the anger. You don't have to physically do it to them, like call them up, but you can be like, all right, you wanted the anger? Take it back. It is yours. That's fine. And whatever they enlisted in you, to get a reaction or to make themselves feel better. Now, they may not have known that they were doing this, but their ego was extremely active. And the ego knew what it was doing. It was playing games. And if they didn't come up and they're willing to be responsible for that, everybody fucks up. That's fine. But if they're not willing to be responsible for that energy and then to work through it and make themselves a better person because of it so they don't make that mistake again, they don't need to be in your life. So let's see what we've got. Fairy energy, celebrate. The time is right to shout out loud. Don't hesitate to jump around. This is a time for celebration for you. This is a time for seeing all of your hard work and the energy and those ups and downs come into this real fluid, beautiful sense of self for you. Absolutely gorgeous. You'll be able to see it. And again, when you look back at the end of the year, you'll be able to clearly see how different you were at the beginning of the year. 2021 is going to be a very successful year for you, even starting at the beginning, January, February going in, because you have surrendered into this new version of you. And all of those blocks that were put up because, you weren't ready to surrender, or you were still unleashing some of the old stuff and you didn't want it to come up when you were on this path of success. All of that is gone now, so you are absolutely ready for this. We wouldn't even say a new version of you, but this extra special gorgeousness. So please get out and celebrate yourself. Get back into that mode of self-love. Ask yourself, reacquaint yourself with who you are, because a lot of the traits and a lot of the things that you brought into your life were sort of a counter dependence from other people. So I wouldn't be surprised if you realize that you actually like this food, or, I didn't think I liked this color and now I do. I never thought I'd be reading this book or something like this, but this subject matter interests me greatly. Even shifting opinions quite dramatically. You realize that, get to know yourself, celebrate the new you, or the real you, not the new you, the real you, and the rest will take form. So enjoy the last couple of months. It's going to be an easy road to doing this. There's not going to be a lot of upheaval. It's going to be a little bit of guarding, especially in November, of your energy, a little bit of protecting in there while you're eliciting this new version of how to move forward. But it'll be plain sailing by December. So that's what I have for you, Pile 1. Do let me know if it resonated in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. And of course, give me a thumbs up. And do feel free to subscribe and hit that bell icon. Be a part of the Unicorn Light Tarot family. We would love to have you here. And do not forget that we do have private readings. Again, for this week, I think I have one more space left. And then we have the Unicorn School of Light for beautiful supporting courses that we have. If you want to check out what the courses are, get a little bit more detail, you're welcome to go to the website, has it there, and sign up at the Unicorn School of Light. All the details are down below. Wonderful stuff, Pile 1. As always, stay safe and sane, and until we meet again, bye-bye. Okay, Pile 2, if you chose the cool sticker, this reading for you, as a reminder, it is what does the rest of 2020 have in store for you? Don't forget we have the healing candle that you can use to either release or help activate or bring in abundance, whatever it is that you need. Let's start off with your message from Source. Standing in your true voice and wisdom without needing to be accepted. So this is something that's what you'll be doing. Standing in your true voice and wisdom without the need to be accepted. So that's the first thing to look forward to as we move through to the end of 2020, a very tumultuous year. Let's see what else is in store for you. 5 of Pentacles. It's reversed. I love that. Okay, and we have the Princess of Pentacles. So, and we have Cosmic Flower. This is gorgeous. The frequency of Cosmic Flower activates our remembrance of the place we call home, the core from which we pour our magnificence out into the world. So this is a real new connection to your sense of power, but particularly, Pile 2, to your sense of freedom and creativity. This is a gorgeousness. Okay, so this is I love this energy in this pile. I love the energy in pile one too, but this energy is great. There's always been, not always, but sometimes there's been a real pressure to make the kind of living that you want, from the creative aspects, or things that you find enjoyable. So coming into that space of doing what you love and making that successful, to be able to have the kind of freedom that you want in this world, which comes with a certain amount of success and of course money. I always try to speak to people, especially with clients, with people who are coming in, so they don't have this understanding of lack. Instead of seeing money as power, or money as this, that, the other, we all need money. I love the idea of seeing money as freedom, as pure freedom. It gives you, yeah, the life that you want. You don't have to worry about paying your mortgage, or, you can go off and do whatever you want. You can help others achieve their dreams. There's lots of things that you can do with money. But yeah, I mean, having money is better than not having it, right? It does give you a level of some kind of consistency in your life that it's just, it takes you to a whole new level. So if you see it as freedom, the freedom that you have around your work, the freedom that you have around what you want to do for a living. Now, sometimes there's a little bit of something that, that we can work through again today, and you've been working through it, you're well aware of it. You've been working on it for some time before 2020, but the idea of what you do, if it's somewhat creative or somewhat esoteric in some ways, not being able to make money from it because seeing money as a dirty word. That's another reason why I love the idea of money equaling freedom versus what it actually does. Some people want the freedom, but the idea of money somewhat disgusts them. They have an altruistic version of self. There's nothing wrong with altruism. I think that's wonderful, but you should be paid for what you do if you do it well. People are paying for your wisdom, the experiences that you've gone through, all the courses that you've taken, the education you put yourself through, the millions of books or the thousands of books that you read. And some of those books for you to say, that's definitely not me. And the way in which you hold yourself and articulate yourself, they pay for your version of events, right? Of this world. So of course you should be paid handsomely for it. But a lot of people have a problem with that when it comes to the arts or creativity. And it may not be an obvious block, but it's something that was standing in your way previous to 2020, but it's something that really was activated within you the beginning of 2020 as we came into it. As the activations got firmer and firmer and more sort of glorious for you, you realized that, you really were as good as people were saying that you were, and you really do deserve to have the kind of life that you want. And it's funny because if you go into a more like specific sort of office job or something that you would consider would be paid handsomely, you have no problem accepting that kind of money for it. But for some reason, when it comes to whatever it is that you love, you've been settling for that, and that energy's been in and around you, and it's been suffocating you a little bit and not being able to give you the room and the space to get to the level of beauty and to have the external of your life reflect the inner, and have that level of freedom from the money, have that level of success, right? And also, part of you has been opening up slowly, like the cosmic flower, like the lotus coming up from the mud, but you didn't want the amount of success that you would be ready for now. You wouldn't have been ready for at the beginning of the year, because there was lots of things that you needed to go through. You're not really in love with being on the spotlight or in the spotlight. You're not. You're absolutely not. But now you are. But you don't seek it necessarily. But you've always been the sort of person, when you walk into a room, people notice. And in your own way, you've always been in the spotlight, but it's sort of been a little bit more on your own terms. But the level of success that you want, the way in which you want to live your life with this kind of freedom, does mean that you would be definitely in the limelight a little bit more. And you're ready for that. You're ready for that. You've been working through that in 2020, and that's what's coming to you, paving the way for that for November and December. There will be a little bit of a protecting of the energy, sort of as you're sort of pulsating, ready to sort of bloom in December. And that's almost because when you finish a creative project, you don't want anybody to read it or see it or be immersed in the energy of it yet until it's really really ready, because you don't want anybody's opinion, because it's not ready for people to project upon yet. So that's how you might feel. You might go into this sort of like a little bit of a hermit stage, or a little bit of getting into just gathering your strength, and it seems a little protected, but that's okay. Go ahead and do that for November, so you can like really bloom into that lotus flower there in December. Everything that you've been leading up to in 2020 is this absolutely gorgeous understanding of leaving the sort of suffering and the lack mentality behind. You've also had this like significant kind of understanding of like, if something's really going well, there has to be something to balance out. You've really had to recreate your understanding of how life happens. Energy is attracted to energy. So if something is going amazingly well, and then all of a sudden it isn't, there's either a lesson, a little bump or a little kink in the road, a little lesson for you to assimilate and move on, nothing big, or the universe is moving you in a new direction, a better direction, that's wonderful, or an aspect of your energy is holding that lack mentality and is attracting that too. You were a bit of a self-sabotager, pile 2. We're just doing some real talk here, because if we can do the real talk, we can get to the crux of it, and this is the old you anyway. And that's okay, because a part of you grew up around realists. This very pragmatic sort of like, well, yeah, if this happens, but it can't really last, or this, that, and the other. It's not really you. And you've diagnosed that and shifted that element. And now you realize that, the shoe is not going to drop if you truly believe in yourself and you hold that level of alignment. It just isn't. Things will get better and better and better. Now, we're not saying that nothing crap will ever happen in your life. Nobody can give you that kind of guarantee, and anybody who does is absolutely lying. But at the same time, the way in which you deal with upsets and the way in which you will deal with the negative or the things that aren't so wonderful in your life will be completely different. They won't devastate you the way that they did before. It won't shake you at your absolute roots and go to your core, where you're left sort of like doubting every aspect of your ability. None of that will happen anymore. So you are moving into a new level of appreciation of self. But again, specifically about what you do in this lifetime. A lot of you are creatives. A lot of you are healers in some way. A lot of you will be melding the healing and the creativity together, which I believe is one and the same. But you'll be doing it in a very specific way known to you. Let's get you some Ganesha energy here. So it's really a beautiful way of coming home. Now, there was an essence of this in Pile 1, but very different energy. An essence of coming home, which means that you take your home with you, like the little crab. The home is on the crab. They move sideways. They do things differently. I know they freak a lot of people out. But they take their home with them. The idea that feeling safe everywhere that you go because you are safe. You are making yourself safe. You've been working through what has been holding you back from making yourself feel safe, and that's what you will be getting, the safety of spirit, this really beautiful connection to source that comes in and beams out, but will be continuous. That's what you'll be looking for. That's what you'll be gaining for the end of the year. And again, if there's a little bit of a protective measure in November, because I'm going to be honest with you, things are getting going to get easier. But there's going to be a little bit of a sort of an unleashing at the beginning. So in the next 2 months. So it's paving the way for this beauty to come in, and it really is a combination of this year of everything that you've been through, and it's been so much. I mean, your activations have been intense. And as we've said in Pile 1, and we do want to remind you, well, if I remember, I'll do this in Pile 3 too. If you've had any doubts whatsoever about as you're activating, if you've had this emotionality, these major swings that a lot of people have been having, you're great one day, you feel on top, you've got it, you tuned in, you understand what's going on. The next day, you're like, I'm lost, I'm losing it, I don't know what's going on. And then you start doubting yourself and wondering when it's going to reach this sort of balance at this plateau. Then we're here to tell you for definite that every time you've activated into a new version of self, and you cannot unlearn that. You cannot go backwards. So what you'll be getting at the end of 2020 is a real gift of being able to look back at how you've grown and how you've grown incrementally. And then you can really, really assess that, yeah, there was no way that you could go backwards. There was no way that you activated and then you were suddenly lost. And then some of you almost doubted the activation. You felt it and you knew that you were activated at the time, but then it almost felt as though the activation process had disappeared until you activated again. We promise you were activated onto a very specific level. You did not fall back or out of that level in any way, shape, or form. So, yeah, let's see what Ganesha has for you here for some extra beauty. Splendor. I love this for you, pal, too. So what's really happening for you is you're really going to be able to see the fruits of your labor here. Now, again, you've been doing this on the sideline a little bit, but you've been working incrementally, not just on yourself, but on career stuff too, getting clear about what it is that you want, how it is you're going to get there, knowing that you're worthy of what it is that you want. And that's half the battle for you. You've got the talent. You're absolutely exquisite. It's listening and believing people who tell you that you're brilliant at what you do. That's been difficult for you, but you're the first one to throw a compliment out there. Oh, you look gorgeous today. You're great at this. You're great at that. You're great at seeing the beauty in other people. Even if, somebody's presenting themselves to you and, there's some things they could work on and we're just being nice. You'll look to the pleasant and the beautiful. And that's what you'll do for other people. But will you do that for yourself? No. It's almost like if you focus on the lack, you focus on the things that, need to be tidied up. You can control it, heal it, tidy it up, and then we can get together and put it all together and we'll be perfect, right? No, that doesn't work for you anymore. You know that mentality is ridiculous. It doesn't work. It's never worked for you. It allows you to be hard on yourself and to replay things over and over and over again in your mind. It keeps you in a state of lack. Well, this is ending for you. Now, you actually are brilliant at making money. You're actually brilliant at falling on your feet. You don't give yourself enough credit for doing that, because sometimes when you fall on your feet in a way, it's not this big glamorous, or it's not as obvious to other people or to yourself, but you really do. When you look back on the life that you have, you've always gotten what you've needed at the right time. You've maybe not gotten a surplus or an excess of what you've needed, but you've always gotten exactly what you needed at the time. Now, this is about splendor. This is moving, and that's been wonderful too. That's great. You've always been provided for, right? But, you're coming into this understanding that, the level of success, again, the level of freedom, because that's what we're talking about with money, because you've worked on that already, so we don't want to go on about it. You want that freedom in your life. You've worked very hard to ensure that you're good at what you do, so you can attract that freedom in there. There's no reason why you shouldn't. You want that freedom. Now to be able to bring in that freedom from the external, bring it in and shower it wherever you go and have that splendor. Instead of just getting by, really have that splendor, have that beautiful essence of you take off and get that into the next power level of your career. And of course, being on the path and being out there, integrating yourself in a brand new way in the world, of course, is a wonderful thing because you're helping more people, right? So the confidence in that is coming. You've got a little bit of a way to go in the confidence, but the next 2 months, it's going to really push you into that confident where, you never have to worry about the ego like, oh, I'm great at this. Look at me. You'll never be like that. 100 people could pay you a compliment, right? And then the 101st person will be like, you're okay. You'll go home with that in your mind. You won't even think about the 100 compliments. But you will go back with that in your mind. You always have a way of balancing yourself out where you keep yourself accessible. You're very grounded. You're very down to earth, salt of the earth, as my friend Pat used to say. You're very level headed. You don't have to worry about getting involved in, the ego and, oh God, I'm really great, and going down that road. And, because the ego can tell you all sorts of things. And then before you know it, you've spent a year in la la land and everybody thinks you're nuts, but you think you're great. But you don't have to do any of that. But the other thing is that we don't want you to concentrate on that one person saying, you're actually expelling the idea of, remember, let's bring this back to the cool, we're going to do it again, standing in your true voice and wisdom without the need to be accepted. So that won't bother you anymore. But we're using that as an example of how grounded you are and how accessible you are, that level of accessibility. Will never leave you. You'll never be the sort of person as I feel like I'm better than other people. You'll have $1 million in the bank, and you'll still be soul of the earth, helping people out. $10 in the cup of sitting down with homeless people, talking to everybody at the bus, whatever you need to do. You'll be accessible to everybody, treating everybody exactly the same way, except for this sort of ignorance of injustice. When people are deliberately ignorant, or when people are just downright mean, there's just something about that you really cannot take. And while you won't be judging them, that's not energy that you will be in and around. But everybody else you will give the time of day to. So you'll always be accessible. You never need to worry about that. But the splendor part of it, the celebration of it, where you can really see things take off and move forward and move to new heights that are brand new. That's coming in for you too. The Princess of Pentacles, taking what you need, keeping the vision close, and just having that alignment and seeing where it goes is truly gorgeous. Let's bring in some fairy energy. Actually, it's not fairies. It's not just fairies. We got unicorns in here. We got mermaids. But it's the fairy tarot deck. We've got the Eight of Fire. Events moving at a fast pace. Delays are over. Many things happening at once. Absolutely. Now, if things do, and they, as we said, things are going to change dramatically in the next 2 months. But, you'll be shelving yourself a little bit in November. So if in December things happen really, really quickly, remind yourself that you're ready. You have been working towards this the entire time in 2020, and you are absolutely ready for this. And do remember that none of this is really happening at such a sudden space. In a way, the passion and the fire has been behind this. You've been working on this behind the scenes. You're just seeing it come into fruition. So don't worry, that you might have to breathe through it initially as things start taking off, and then you're like, oh, I don't want to feel overwhelmed. You're not. Remind yourself you're ready. The universe doesn't give you anything that you're not ready for. Even if you feel like it's out of your element a little bit, and I don't feel that comfortable, but I'm excited about not feeling that comfortable. I'm excited about growing. I'm excited about changing. This is not quite what I do, but it's, on the path of what I do. Absolutely take on new ideals, new understandings, new beauties, new ways of doing this. Very, very quickly, by the time you reach 2021, things will be on the fast pace, but it will be, the energy will coming in and culminating in and around December. So, but again, you're ready for this. You're absolutely ready for this. And remember to take things at your own pace, because you'll be in a position to be able to take things, on the pace that you want. If you want to slow them down a little bit, that's fine. You'll be in a position to be able to do that. So don't worry about it. You're very much, you spent a good portion of your life being in the back seat of your own life. Driving down the road, but you're either in the passenger seat or you're in the back, and occasionally you're in the boot. You were right in the back with the groceries, but now you're in the driving seat. So however it is that you want to do, absolutely, shift your life accordingly. We have Eagle and communication. Again, the way in which you communicate will be of authority, and it will not be in a way that excludes any voices or excludes anyone, but it will be pure and utter truth, and you won't be waiting for validation for that. A lot of why you've taken a little bit longer and you've not really known the power that you are, because you're an absolute powerhouse, is because the validation that you've got has been absolutely wonderful, but your soul has been waiting to be validated by you. Once you validate yourself, which is absolutely coming in momentarily, and it's going to absolutely be solidifying in the month of November, then you're ready to go. You're ready to go. You've been, you just need to validate yourself. So let's see what we have here. Shape-shifting and clouds. I love this card here. Really not working in a linear format, just sort of letting it all take off. I love this here. You've got the core of who you are, and then you've got this, shoot out. It's all shooting out from different directions, but it's all coming from the same source and the same gorgeousness. This is the energy that you have because you have your firm rootedness in knowing who you are. You'll be able to live spherically in many different directions, which is a gorgeous way of doing it, instead of like that linear format which you have grown out of, that you believe that you needed to do. Not going to work for you in this lifetime. It's just not. Even if you start in a linear format, that's great, but it'll shoot off and shoot off and shoot off. It just will. But you're really accepting that and bringing in that energy, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Shape shift into many different ways. You're the sort of person who can have 4 or 5 different projects at the same time going on. One project may take your time and your energy, and you'll finish that one. And then, the other 3 will be excluded for a while this one gets finished, and then you'll go back to the other 3. But you always have several different things going on. Strutting out from the core of who you are, from creative, some of you, even in medicine or whatever it is that you do. So yeah, let's see. I'm thinking, I want to do a little making magic. Let's finish off here with a little making magic for pile 2. But this is an exciting time for you. Now, don't get nervous about November. If it feels a little tumultuous in November and you feel as though there's no way that this is going to come into fruition, how can this energy, because you might be a little bit more in protective mode, or in sort of a more reflective interior mode, where you don't feel as though you're seeing the external mirror the success. Trust me, once you come into December, now don't go into that winding road that you can get into sometimes, where you misappropriate, you misunderstand what's going on. The quiet time, tempering your quiet time, does not mean that you're not getting what you want, or you're not ready for it, or you're lost. Quite the opposite. So don't try to oversee or try to attach yourself too firmly with what happens in the month of November. Allow it to organically sort of happen. And then that will bring you into December, which is a far more action month for you. Let's see what we have here. All right, Philosopher's Stone. Powerful manifestation of wishes and goals by harnessing universal energy. Absolutely. And this is something that you've been able to do. You actually have done it at many levels. If we said you've always been catered for, you've always been looked after by the universe, getting exactly what you need at the time. Now, this level that you're moving into is in a little bit more in excess, a little bit more in splendor. But you are an excellent manifester when you get out of your own way. So the abundance comes from not having to dumb yourself down, really knowing who you are, and really understanding that the alignment of energy, keeping your energy in the abundance motif and understanding of who you are, means the shoe will not drop. And if you have that shoe dropping moment in you, that's fine. Just come back to the abundance. You can come back to the energy of abundance anytime you want, but focusing on the positive and not the lack. Because, your practical mind is, if we focus on the lack, we can turn it into a positive. We know what we're doing. We can make us all perfect. Again, remember, that's never worked for you. You're not doing that anymore. Once you literally throw that saga out the window, you can come back to an essence of who you are. This is going to be a gorgeous year for you, and a year of you really looking back in celebration of who you've become, and the strength and authenticity that you are expressing now. You've always been authentic, but you've been authentic on a smaller scale. You're going to be authentic completely and totally on your own terms, taking that sense of power and trust and freedom with you wherever you go. and feeling safe in the world, and feeling safe that you will manifest at the level that you want to manifest whenever it is that you want to manifest at. So I hope this resonated with you, Pal 2. If it did, do feel free to give me a thumbs up. And let me know in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. And of course, subscribe and hit that bell icon. We'd love to have you here at the Unicorn Light Tarot. Little family here on the internet, or big our family here on the internet. And don't forget that I am doing personal readings. They will be at the weekend. I do believe I have one spot left. You're welcome to seek me out. My email will be down below. And also we have the Unicorn School of Light, these beautiful courses to support you. For more information about each course, you can go to my website, which is listed down below, and it will take you right to the Unicorn School of Light there, or you can go straight to the Unicorn School of Light and go ahead and get yourself some beautiful support and love. We also have a free Beyond Fear course too, which hundreds of people have taken, so definitely get yourself in on that also. So Pile 2, absolutely wonderful stuff. Going to be a great year for you, I had no doubt. You stay safe and sane, my darlings, and until we meet again, bye-bye. Okay, Pile 3, if this is yours, then as a reminder, we have the healing candle here. Use it, excuse me, use it any way that you want. And we have, what does the rest of 2020 have in store for you? We have a little message from the universe with, well, you can have it any way you want. I thought it was really fun. Arrow up. So your reading, this will give you an idea of what your reading will be about. Believing in your vision in the world is a true gift. So a lot of people get very, very dismayed because their version of the world doesn't match what they believe it should be. But believing in your vision, knowing who you are, and having pure acceptance of what it is around you is a true gift. And it's a gift that you will be coming in and around, Pile 3. It's the gift of freedom. It's the gift of peace. And also, it's just, it gives you room to kind of grow on your own terms without having to be influenced by the external anymore. So let's see what we have here. Ooh, 2 of Cups. Loving that. Diana, the Moon, gorgeousness. And then alchemy. Ooh, I love this. The frequency of alchemy activates our magical ability and remembrance of the magic that we all hold inside. Each one of us has the potential to access the ancient knowledge that allowed the true alchemist to perform the miracles of transmutation. This is gorgeous. All right, so this is kind of more of a mystical, beautiful reading, getting in touch with your magic, really learning the beauty of who you are, and really honoring the uniqueness and really honoring your own magic is something that's you've been coming into for the whole 2020. It's, if there was a theme of 2020 specifically, if we could really pin it down for you, it's about how you work with your own energy, how you appreciate your own energy, and how your energy works from your direct source of your own magic and believing in it. Now, you know that you're very powerful and you know that you're very magical, but it's really funny because you don't always come back to your sense, you don't always equate your magic with power. That's with where your power source comes from. That's something that you've had to learn. That's something that you've had to realize. And also sometimes you may have doubted that power or believed that, maybe using or tapping into your own sense of magic, there were appropriate times to do that and there were inappropriate times to do that. Or there were never inappropriate times to do it, but maybe not appropriate times to do it. But it's almost like you came in and out of the essence of your own magic and you didn't completely integrate it and work from it as the core sense of who you are. Now that's something that you've been doing, and many of your activations, especially sort of February, March, say, and coming into the beginning of the summer of 2020, the activation was really sourced in and around believing and seeing your own magic and your own energy field, and being able to see it in the world and have tangible, palpable proof of how it works. Now, you definitely have ancient wisdom. You definitely have alchemy. And being able to take the negative and turn it and transmute it into the positive, and being able to take hate and turn it into love. Now, this is something that you're doing on a level that's really, really profound. You weren't able to do this to the extent that you were able to do this last year in 2019. This is definitely something that you've been activated in. And the reason is that you had so much going on that, a lot of this stuff, like hate, for instance, would have caused you to go into a triggering effect where that hate would have triggered something within you and would have displaced your magic. But now what you do is when you see and you feel hate, or you're up against it, there's so much right now, especially in the US with, this side and that side, and that side hates each other and this side hates each other, and the polarity of it, and neither one of them can see that they're exactly the same, but just on two sides, right? Two sides of the same coin. They're pretty much exactly the same. Neither one of them wants to admit it, though, because they both find the other, appalling, right? And nobody wants to admit that, the appalling aspect in another person is actually mirrored within us. Nobody wants that, right? But this is something that you've been grappling with in 2020, being really open and being really honest about who you are, and really using these mirrors that the universe and source is really holding up to us on a global, international, universal level, and saying, you know what, I'm going to take this energy in. I'm going to do it. I'm going to see where it is in me. I'm going to track it down. I'm going to see where it is. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be fearless about this. I'm going to do it privately and on my own. I don't need to be out in the world shouting out what's going on right now. This is, very much a private practice for me, but I am going to do this. And you've done this successfully. You've really gone in and assessed privilege. You've really gone in all sorts of places and really cultivated an understanding of where hatred could be. And sometimes it's reflected against yourself as self-hatred or ignorance, or wherever that is. You've done some really, really hard-hitting work. And you've been activated in and around your own version of this too, which has been absolutely incredible. And what it's done, it's just led yourself. It's all of this activation work and all of this really sort of deciphering and going deep, it's just led you back to your own mystery, sense of mystical, sense of magic. Every place that you set off and everything that you've done in 2020, everything that you've gone in and explored has brought you back to magic. All of it, and your own sense of power. And you know that your own sense of power ruminates around this, and it comes from the source of your own magic. But what you are uniquely able to do, and you will be doing it on a personal, interpersonal level, and you'll be doing it, you've been doing it in a way, but you're going to be an expert at this in November and December. You'll be able to take, like we said, you'll be able to take the hate and transmute it into love. You'll be able to break down why that hate exists, and you'll be able to transmute it into love. It's a lack of mentality. It's like not necessarily taking responsibility for what's going on, projecting out, all of that stuff. But you won't be focused on the negative. You won't be focused on the hate. You'll be able to use it as a catalyst to turn it to love. You'll be able to do this on a very personal level in your own life, everything it touches. And you'll be able to see every aspect of your life shift, change, transmute, and literally take off. You'll also be able to do this for others, either creatively, in integrating into what you already do, or on a sort of academic or a creative level. You'll definitely be able to do it. This is your very, very specific kind of light. As starseed, you're obviously a starseed. You've come in ancient knowledge. There's Palladian energy there, but you've been many different ones. Arcturian energy is definitely there. Orion also for starseed. You might want to look them up. There's also a couple of starseed messages that I did before, if you want to go back and look those up. But you came in, everybody came in here for starseeds to hold the light, if you decided that that's what you were going to do. I don't know if everybody knows this, but not all starseeds are very powerful, but not all starseeds are here to hold the light. Some of them can be kind of bollockses, and that's fine. It's free will. The earth is a free will zone. Everybody gets to do whatever they want, and that's just the way it works. There can't be any judgment. They can, but honestly, judgment just holds you back from the true power of you, so why bother? But you're here to be the light-bearing starseed. There's no two ways about that. And your particular way, the way that you hold light, is that you transmute it. You work on an alchemist level, you transmute it. And this is something that you had an inkling that you would have been able to do, but you've not been able to do it at the level that you will be doing it at the end of 2020. And again, all of the months that were pre November and December has been leading you up to doing this. Now, some of the months could be with the activations, you kind of had an inkling that you could do this, but you could have been overwhelmed with the sense of hate or really getting into the ideology of good and bad, this polarity, right and wrong, which is what the world has really been going through. And again, particularly America, this real polarization of right and wrong and staying in one camp, right? So there may have been over the summer, particularly, these times where you felt very overwhelmed because you were very within the sort of energy of hate. And while you may not have been exactly taking it on, the polarization in and around you could have been very heavy, dense energy. You could have been triggered by it. And at times you could have been triggered to the point where you kind of went down that road with them a little bit, and then you were like, whoa, 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 whoa. But we can promise you that everything that you went through with those activations, even in those times when you felt overwhelmed and you were like, I can't do this polarity, this driving, it's pulling me apart. That was part of your training to be able to transmute it. Now you're coming into the transmuting aspect of it. You were able to do it in small increments or in small ways. So if this is resonating with you, it should really not be a surprise to you that this is the specific way that you hold light. And there's many different things that you are here to do on this earth, creatively and inspire people. But the way in which you hold light is definitely to transmute it. So you coming into this in full effect in November. And as we said for Pile 1 and Pile 2, November is a strange month a little bit because there will be a little bit of protection for some as everybody's coming into their power in November a little bit. You might feel the hermit energy of wanting to cocoon just a little bit, but you're not actually shutting anything out. There's no boundaries needed. You're just preserving the energy to come out. By the end of November, even for you, you'll come out a little bit quicker than maybe the others, Pile 1 and Pile 2. We would say by, the second week, going into the third week of November, you'll be feeling this sort of influx of energy. And then with December coming in right at the end month of 2020, you'll be in this transmuting mode of being able to do this and see the effects, how it changes in every aspect of your life. Pulling in your magic, being really, really grounded in your magic. There's also a new love for you coming in, and a soulmate connection. For those of you who've worked with me for a while or have had private sessions, I'm not big on the twin flame thing. I think it's been blown out of proportion. And I think the fact that we have false twin flame energy in and around us tells you how crazy it's gotten. But this is a soulmate situation. And even though I say, the twin flame relationship is actually quite rare. It's less rare in this generation, in this lifetime, because a lot of twin flames decided to come back in this lifetime. But it's still relatively rare. It's not as frequent as people realize. Like, I think people realize or think that they're all in twin flame relationships and they're just waiting for the twin flame to come in. But the way in which I'm prefacing this, because normally I say I'm not into it, but some of you do actually have twin flame relationships after all of that introduction, right? Some of you actually do have twin flame relationships coming in, and some of you have soulmate relationships. But this is a real significant other coming in. Transmuting energy. They've also been transmuting energy on and in their own way. They will be alchemists of sorts also. Be two alchemists together, and together you'll be very, very powerful. They've been doing a lot of work. Like the reason why twin flame relationships can be very difficult is if you come together when one of you isn't ready, and that usually what happens, one is up and one's not ready yet, then you get the going backwards and forwards, and it can be very painful at the beginning. But there is a growth period where you both come back together, whether you go off or you come back together, and that's when the beauty of the twin flame relationship comes in. Now, you were lucky insofar as that both of you in the twin flame relationship coming in here, pile 3, you've done your work separately. So when you come together, you'll be ready to transmute together. Now, if this is an energy, this does happen. It is rather rare, but it does happen. So I don't want to rule it out for some of you because these are general readings. It could be a person that you're already with, and it could be a twin flame relationship, but you're just in that sort of like, circumstance where you're not in that beauty of the twin flame. You're still at the mirroring, triggering stage, and one of you usually one needs to grow to catch up with the other. That's just the way it works. So if you're already with the twin flame relationship, what's going to happen in November, catalyst moving strongly in December, is that your other person, the person that you're already with, will actually reach and match where you are, and a new level of the relationship will come in, and you will be definitely linked together as twin flames. So if that person sounds like the person that you're already with, you won't be meeting somebody new. That'll just be a brand new level. But let me tell you, pile 3, it's gonna feel like a brand new person. It's gonna feel like a brand new person. So that's why it's coming up like that. But for those of you who have not met them yet, they're coming in. They're absolutely coming in. And this is the level of transmutation that you'll both be able to hold the light. They'll have their own sense of magic. Some of them will be a little bit dorky, which is really cute, like Lord of the Rings. And for those of you who are out there going, Lord of the Rings isn't dorky. Okay, sure. But they'll have their own sort of dorky cuteness to them, which you'll absolutely adore. And you absolutely have that too, but they'll really trigger that in a good way within you. So you'll be really honing in on that sort of quirky, dorky kind of aspect of you that sometimes you hide away, or you have hidden away in the past, just because it's easier and you don't want to deal with it. Because sometimes people think you. In the past, people have thought you were kind of freaky, and some people were kind of amazed by it. Some people were in awe of it, and some people were quite confused by it. But this meeting of the minds and this beautiful partnership that's coming in is going to be gorgeous, because it's just pure acceptance on every level. Whether you're rising up to meet the occasion, the other person, or whether it's a brand new person. So everything that you've been through, we can say, pile 3, particularly in 2020, has been leading up to this person coming into your life. So this is, if they don't come in, November, December, it may not be, I wouldn't say it's the first part of November, but if it's, the middle of November onwards, it will be very, very close to the beginning of next year, very quickly. And you don't have to worry about when it comes in. When does it come in? Yeah, don't get obsessed with that. And that's the other thing about twin flames. People get obsessed with, when's it going to happen? Is it going to be next week? It's like, trust me, when it happens, you'll know. And then you have drive here. I want to do one more. And then fulfillment. Absolutely. This is a new way for you to work in the world, because the way in which you use your energy now, you're able to transmute. It's like the way that I'm being shown is really quite beautiful and really very simple. It's like no waste, right? When you eat everything and you eat a really great diet, you're able to, if you're in a position to do that. And then you can... what is it? Use the compost. My goodness, I couldn't think of that word. You can compost, right? So you're putting it back into the land and nothing's wasted, right? That's what was just shown for me. The way in which you use your energy and coming into this energy full time, where it changes all aspects of your life, is that something doesn't work out or something isn't working for you, transmute the lower energies constantly and churn them up higher. So the sense of fulfillment and the way in which you are driving your car, or the way in which you have your drive, your actual energy is completely different now. It's coming from source, it's coming from your own magic, and you're able to work on your own fumes, because none of those fumes are negative anymore. And if they are, you transmute them. So a lot of you, if you found, and again, this is general reading, so if this part doesn't, or if you're about to come into this part or it hasn't happened yet, then that's fine. This won't be for all of you, and I don't want to say it's wrong. But for those of you who have noticed in 2020, or rather recently, that caffeine doesn't work for you anymore, you don't need that jolt anymore, that's because your energy is shifting. You don't need it. The passion, the way in which you transmute energy is enough to get you going now. Whereas the coffee before, because you weren't working and embracing your light as much as you are now, and that's just timing. You had to come into this incrementally. So it's not like, you could have been doing this. The way in which you did it and how long it took you to come into your full gifts is perfect timing. But yeah, you will find that, the passion, the way in which you hone in on your energy is so different now that you probably won't need caffeine. And in fact, when you do drink caffeine, it'll send you off in all sense of different directions, and it probably doesn't work for you the way that it did before, and it sends you a little bit loopy. If you like that, why not? Do it every now and again, but you probably don't need any of those stimulants anymore. So let's get you a little bit more energy from, this is the Fairy Tarot deck. But it also has unicorns and fairies. We've got everybody in here. Ace of Fire, an exciting new opportunity, career advancement, change your life now. Well, this is exactly what's happening for you already. This beautiful fire energy coming in, wands. We've got the dragon energy here. We've said already the way in which you are using your energy is completely different. And you're not as exhausted. The other thing I want to say too, just in case for some of you, if this applies to you and you've been a little bit freaked out by it, we just want to make sure that you're not freaked out by it. For some of you who have changed your sleeping patterns, or you're noticing you don't need as much sleep as you did before, your energy is working differently, so you don't have to worry about that. Before, the way in which your body and mind needed to recover, you needed more sleep. You no longer need that much. So, and also if you're affected by energies and you have one sleepless night, and then the next night, you sleep, but you don't crash out right away. And then you're back on track pretty quickly, and you're wondering what the hell happened. In short, you don't need as much sleep or as much rest as you did before. That's part of what's going on with your energy. You just don't need as much. It's actually a myth that people need 8 hours. Now, some people do, and if you're one of those people, you're one of those people. Everybody is different. Everybody needs, different nutrients. No diet works across the board. I know people say, plant-based is the only way to go. Personally, I prefer most of those foods, but it's not okay for absolutely everybody, and sleep is completely different too. So if you're an 8-hour kind of person, go you. But for you, you don't need that anymore. And you won't be needing that. And that's something that if you haven't seen yet, it may shift in November and December. And if it's a really big shift, whereas before you needed like 8 or 9 hours and now you only need 4 or 5, and you're like, what is going on? Well, just rest assured that's part of it. Now your body will take care of itself. If it ever needs an extra whatever, you will crash for a full 8 hours, even if it's 5 days down the road, and then you'll go back to your regular schedule of like 5 hours. Most of you will be on around 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours, whereas previously you may have been on 8 hours if you were sleepers. And if you were not sleepers and you only needed, 4 or 5 hours anyway, then you're exactly where you need to be. That's your energy. That's the way in which you transmute energy. So that works. But most of you are coming from a sleeping more, and noticing that you don't need coffee, you don't need the stimulants, and you don't need as much sleep. But that's part of it, and that's absolutely fine. And you may find that, you can work a little bit later too. A lot of you are night owls with the magic, with the moon. A lot of your fantastic and beautiful original ideas will come to you at night. And that's wonderful too. Let's see what else we have here. But yeah, exciting new opportunities literally in all aspects of your life. As we said, all aspects of your life, from love to career, will be taking off and changing dramatically and moving at light speed also. But it'll also be a really calm kind of energy going on too, and somewhat expected, because you put out that energy before. So it's, you're just seeing the fruition of things coming to fruition at the end of the year. So it's just a time to celebrate. And for those of you who are coming in or get inundated or have a few offers at the end of the year, the one thing that we will say is, don't make decisions right away. As your energy is picking up, as you're transmuting full time, a lot of people will be really attracted to your energy, and that's a wonderful thing to do. And you know, people will be coming from all areas and want to work with you in different ways, and that's wonderful. But be discerning. You don't have to work with any of them. You don't have to work with all of them. You know, you may not be used to being sort of sought out this way, at least to this degree. But please take your time and listen to your intuition about who to work with. For many of you, there's no reason to work with anyone if you don't want to. You'll be working with Source and doing your own thing. In fact, you have so many things going on. I don't even necessarily know that there'll be that much time. But either way, to work with others, if you're firmly on the fence of not feeling like you need to work with anyone, I feel like for me, collaborations, you know, I work with Source already. That's my collaboration. I really, between family and everything else, and my writing and now that I've taken up readings, there's no other time to do anything else. But you know, if this comes up for you, really sit with it, because you'll be excited about every new opportunity, and you'll feel as though, you know, you're missing out. You might have that essence of, oh, if I don't do this, I'm missing out. That's okay. You're not missing out on anything. Just sit with it. And really be clear about who and why you want to work with someone. If you don't want to work with anyone, that's totally fine. But those opportunities will be coming in. Activation, wind. Absolutely activation. You've been activated all the way through the year, so I'm not surprised at that at all. But the activation is coming to sort of a close at 2022. The activation, you would have had one fairly recently, or it wouldn't have been as dramatic as the other ones. Again, it's pulling out. It's a real clear pulling out of what no longer serves you, so you can just go right for the transmuting aspect of self. And then strength, of course. We also have the strength, knowing that you have the drive, the way in which your energy will be working will be different. We've already said. The strength will be coming from your own sense of beauty and magic, which you will feel and look and be different in this world. You absolutely will. Everything about you will shift in some way or another. If people haven't seen you for a while, and because of what we're going through with the pandemic and everything, it may absolutely be true. But when people see you, you know, in public, you know, either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year, they won't recognize you, but in an absolutely brilliant way. They'll be, oh my goodness, you know, I mean, every aspect of you, you will feel younger, and just, you know, so much of that old darkness that you kept and you held and you were holding for society, you were holding for the world, it's going to be lifted, because the transmuting aspect is being clicked in full time. So that is absolutely wonderful. And you're going to feel all of those effects. I'm going to do one more, because we're just coming out of the full moon in Taurus. By the time this is uploaded, it'll be a couple of days, but still. Peace, absolutely. The way in which you work in the world with peace will be completely different. And this is something that we've been saying all the way through. You're going to create your own luck on your own level, and it's extremely exciting. One more card for you as the obvious starseed here. We've got to end with the starseed's wisdom for spiritual growth. Let's see what else we have for you here. I love this one. See, look, got the two eyes here. Intuition. Trust your intuition. It has been guiding you to the answers that you seek. This is something that you've been doing all along. Your intuition is connected to your magic, to your reverence, to your beauty. You've been activated into that, into your sense of purpose, into the way in which you use and transmute energy, into your energy and how you work now with the sense of drive and fulfillment, with your passion and your beauty. And again, all of those beautiful ideas that you're going to be coming up with under the moon and the moon phases too. Don't forget to write them down and act on them immediately. They're absolutely glorious. There's nothing that you can't achieve, and it's really beautiful for you to actually click into everything and be able to see it come to fruition, because you've been leading up to this for the entire 2020, and it is well deserved. So I hope this resonated with you, Pal 3. If it did, feel free to give me a thumbs up. And let me know in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. And of course, subscribe and hit that bell icon if you haven't already. And become part of the family here at Unicorn Light Tarot. And don't forget, we have the Unicorn School of Light. You can go ahead and check in with the course descriptions on my website and then sign up for the courses at the Unicorn School of Light. And I still have, I think, one session available. If you're interested in booking a private session, feel free to get in touch down below via email. All the information is down below for you. So well done, go be you, and as always, stay safe and sane, Pal 3. And until